Hey everyone, my name's Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer for Geek Vibes Nation, and I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I am Dylan Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Attic new release roundup. If you're new here, first of all, welcome. What we do here is we go back and forth and we talk about the latest home video releases. We always have a very eclectic range of films, so I think there's a little bit for everybody. But I'm going to kick it off to you to start us off.
I appreciate that. Yes. I'm going to start off with a box set. This is one that I was excited about. This is from Shout Factory. This is the new Tiger Cage collection. So 3 films in here, which kind of show off. I'm sure Andre will probably put the cover art better than I can show it. But so it comes in a really nice slim case because I'm grateful because I don't have a lot of space. So anytime I can condense packaging, that's good. But they still come in on 3 discs, so each movie is given their own disc. No double-sided artwork, but I'll show the interior, just like artwork outside of the case. So yeah, these are 3 films by, forgive my pronunciation, Yuen Woo-ping, who's a famous fight choreographer. I think he did the choreography for the Kill Bill movies. And so these are films from like the late 80s going into the early 90s. But these, what I found interesting about these, not really knowing anything about these movies, there's some continuity between the cast members, but all 3 movies have distinctly different plots with different characters. Like the first 2 movies, they share a lot of overlap with actors, including Donnie Yen is one of the main performers in both of those 2, playing different characters. But these are all tales of just kind of like revolving around like crime and corruption and stuff. Like the first film is about like a group of like detectives who get mixed up in kind of this criminal element when they kind of discover that one of their own is on the take, and they have to kind of deal with that, like with like people, like members of the team getting killed off and not trusting one another. And then the second one is kind of a more contained, like 2 to 3 person story. Most of the time, it's like a almost like a buddy situation where like a man and a woman that don't know each other and don't really seem to like each other get kind of like swept up in this kind of criminal like drug money laundering kind of scheme, and like kind of have to go on the run together and learn to like each other and all that kind of stuff. And there's like another person that they hook up with, but mostly it's those 2, one of which is Donnie Yen. And then the third one is kind of like very different. But it like doesn't feature, I don't think, any of the members from the first 2, like actors from the first 2 movies. But it involves, once again, more criminal conspiracy stuff. But in this one, there's like a detective person who gets like blown up and his face is all like scarred up, which you can see him here with his mask. So he like forms like, he has like a cool mask that he kind of like, people believe he's dead and he has to come back and help like avenge like his girlfriend, who is also mixed up in like a conspiracy thing, and you kind of had to figure out what her actual allegiances are throughout this. But I would say the first 2 films are the best. I think actually the second film was overall the most entertaining for me, but all 3 films are pretty solid. The third one is the weakest, but I did like all 3 films, and having never seen them before. They have a good mixture of like hand-to-hand combat, some like big explosions, guns, intrigue, great performances, charismatic actors. So overall, having not seen these films, these are like a really fun discovery from, I believe, like Hong Kong. And so all of these films are newly on Blu-ray from Shout Factory, from new 2K restorations for all 3 films. The first 2 films each have 2 cuts of the films. I think the first one has the Cantonese cut and the English cut, and the second film has a Cantonese cut and a Malaysian cut. I think there's only 1 cut of the third film from what I wrote down and remember. All three films have 1 commentary track each. Each has a selection of new interviews that are really enlightening, like some trailers, some like deleted like extra scenes here and there, but mostly just like interview based featurettes and commentaries. So overall, they did a really nice job of like bringing a lot of new material to this, giving these a really good restoration, and just overall, just a really nice set, nice packaging, slim. I really like the Tiger Cage collection. I had a good time. If you're a martial arts fan, like kind of like Hong Kong crime thrillers, you're gonna have a good time with this one. So Tiger Cage collection is recommended.
Nice. Yeah, I love that we've been covering a lot of kung fu movies, and it's a genre that I'm trying to get more familiar with. So that seems like a really good set to have.
Mm-hmm.
My next film is kind of controversial, but I really liked it. It is the 2011 The Thing in this really beautiful steelbook. So this is from Mill Creek. So I'm going to show this off here. Also, one little detail that I noticed. Sorry, let me see if I can get this lit better. But can you? I don't know if you can see the little
Oh,
outpost thing
oh,
on the
nice.
side. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not realize. I did not even see that until I was like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the back. You will notice that we do have some new featurettes, which is really awesome. So here is, I mean, that's some really nice packaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a lot of people don't like this film. I do. Um, Here's the inside. So I'm going to pop this disc out to show the interior. So not spectacular, but it's kind of cool and it's nicer than just like having nothing inside. So yeah, I get why people hate this film. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it pretty famously had a lot of really great practical effects that were, for some reason, the studio demanded the great practical effects be have CGI stuff instead. And that was kind of scrapped for some really ropey looking CGI. And a lot of people just focus on that with not liking it. And yeah, I don't think this is a perfect film. And I feel like it's a big ask to compare this to the Carpenter film or even the original The Thing from Another World. But yeah, I think it's perfectly fun on its own. I think it has a great cast. That opening sequence is some of the best tense, thrilling kind of like cold open I've seen in a while. And there's a lot of really interesting detail. I like some of the plot devices that they set up. Um, I mentioned the cast. I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I don't know why she's not doing anything recently, but holy crap, she's great and I love her. And yeah, Joel Edgerton is in it, and I'm like, I'm sold. Yeah. Let's take a minute to cool off a little bit, but yeah, no, I think it's fun. Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand where some of the disliking of it is, like uh but I feel like it is kind of fun to be able to watch this to bookend with Carpenter's film because it ends right where the Carpenter film leaves off. And like with the featurettes, they had a crazy amount of detail of reverse engineering, like the mayhem that they find at the Swedish station. They had to literally make their own blueprints and just meticulously go through stills from the 1980s thing, and again reverse engineer it to how it got there. And it's a shame that we like the attention to detail is sort of lost in the conversation when it comes to Yeah, but the CGI sucks and it takes you out of it. I mean, I would love to see a director's cut with all of the practical effects reinstated, or at least as much as they could, but that probably seems unlikely. But you know what? Whatever. I like the thing. Um, I think this looks nice for the most part. Mill Creek's a little hit or miss, but I think that this probably comes from a previous Universal transfer, which was from, I believe, 2012. And I think it looks fairly good. There's some room for improvement. Some of the blacks are not as deep and crisp as I would like. Some of the definition maybe falls a little short, but it overall all looks really nice and it sounds good as well. So, um, and again, I do appreciate the fact that we do have some new features here, as well as the legacy stuff ported over. So, yeah, I think this is fun. I think it's worth getting. It sucks that this gets so much hate, but I like it, and I've watched it a few times, and I'll watch it a few times more. So,
I actually have not seen this movie. I just picked this up either this past Black Friday or the Black Friday before that, the original Universal release. And I saw that this was coming out, and I was like, do I get the Steelbook and put like Universal's probably better encoded disc into the Steelbook or not? But now it has new special features, so I don't know what to do. But I'll probably Frankenstein something, maybe put like an extra hub in the Steelbook or something. I'll see what I can do, but I need shelf space, so I'm going to probably combine them. But I'm glad that this came in a really cool packaging and has some new special features, which is pretty cool. I just wish maybe if they're going to do this re-release, maybe make it a 4K. Why not?
yeah, I was thinking that too. I would have loved a 4K release, but that just doesn't seem to be in the cards. I hope maybe Universal. I kind of wonder if Universal's maybe planning on doing like a standalone 4K for themselves. Maybe a little bit down the line. I don't know, but yeah, I'm happy with this for now.
Yeah, it seems like a good one for the time being. So, and I didn't pay too much for my old Universal Blu-ray, so I'm not feeling that bad about it, about double dipping. So okay, my next tale. This is a tale of war and darkness and the interiority of man and the struggle, like with humanity. I'm talking about Unicorn Wars. From G Kids and Shout Factory. So this one is very interesting. It's been high up on my radar ever since I learned about this, because you have these cute little like bears and fighting unicorns. So you have disc art here. There's no reversible, but I'll show you. There's some nice artwork underneath here. And so this is a Spanish film, and there is only a Spanish language track here, which is fine with me because we don't like English dubs too much here, but just for those who are curious. Also, just if it's not clear just from that description of bears versus unicorns, this isn't really a family-friendly movie. This is pretty much a hard R rated movie. So basically, I think the best description I've seen of this, I'm going to steal it because it makes sense. It's like Care Bears meets Full Metal Jacket. Because it basically what this boils down to is like there's these bears that are like training at like a camp, like a boot camp, to like go out and fight these mythical unicorns. They've heard that like will basically fuck you up if you run across one. But the core dynamic of this is that there's two bear brothers at the center of this, and one is kind of like they both had a tough childhood. One has like turned it into kind of like a seething anger and like is always like snapping at people and wants to be the best and even like puts down his brother a lot. And the other one is kind of like a little bit of an overweight bear who is like always like not the best at boot camp. He's like being yelled at by the drill instructors, and it's kind of like he has more like a soft, kind heart. as these bears are like inherently born with. So there is a lot of there is like a lot of carnage and war and everything, but there is like this deeper level of like some like sibling conflict and stuff within this, which I wasn't really expecting, but I'm glad that there is like some nuance and depth to this. Um, but if you are coming from like animated crazy carnage, it is there. There's like holes blown out of people's faces. There's like entrails. There's all kinds of stuff. It's a really wild movie, and it didn't quite live up to exactly what I wanted to be, but it's still a very entertaining movie. I think there are ways that I think the narrative could have been enhanced a little bit here and there, but overall, what we get, I do find still very entertaining. But if you are into kind of more of like the adult, like violent animation, I think this is really a fun, interesting watch. And as opposed to most G Kids releases, this, like I said, this is a Spanish release, not a like a Japanese anime. And the animation is really fun and colorful, which juxtaposes interestingly with the darkness of war. So I really like the animation style. The story is pretty solid, and the even though I do not speak Spanish, the vocal performances, like I could tell that there was like some like genuine emotion behind a lot of these exchanges, which I appreciate. So I saw this like kind of described as like a horror film. I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's just more of like a like more carnage based like thriller, I would say, like war movie. But overall, interesting film. This looks really good on Blu-ray. Like I said, a 5.1 Spanish track. It has English and French subtitles provided, and there are a couple featurettes that aren't very long. They're like 2 or 3 minutes long, with the director and the team. And then, but there is a option to watch the film in its like rough animatic version. So it's like a feature length animatic that you can kind of see how the animation got to where it was in its like final feature form, which I always think is a really cool featurette of just like being able to see this rough animation throughout the process. So that's really cool. So if you're into adult animation, Unicorn Wars is a gnarly fun time. I recommend it overall.
Yeah, that one it was definitely on my radar and looked pretty interesting. And now your endorsement of it actually kind of makes me want to watch it definitely even more now. So I'm kind of gonna stick with some like hard R genre stuff with my next title, which is Unwelcome. This is from Well Go USA, and I think it's a bummer that the cover kind of spoils the sort of like the main. I don't know if you would call it a twist, but it's like the kind of scary boogeyman kind of thing. Which again, I think would have been more interesting if it would have kept it a little bit more ambiguous. But yeah, so I have to admit, I really wasn't feeling this movie when I first started watching it. It very much plays the um new couple in a small village. They don't fit in. There's weird characters. There's there I wish I could think of the movie, but I had a weird sense of deja vu because like there was another movie from a couple years ago. I believe it was a Shudder film where like the setup was so similar. So like I even had to do like a double take. I was like, well, there's no way they're the same movie because this is fairly new. But anyways, as the movie goes along though, it does become really compelling. But then it gets really batshit crazy, and that's kind of what sold the movie for me. Like there's kind of this weird subplot about the thrust of the movie is it's a couple that are victimized pretty severely by some like hooligans, and they need to move. The main actor, she's pregnant, and they're like, okay, we need to move to find a safer kind of place. So they move into this small little village, and they hire this like really creepy guy and his family to like fix some stuff around the place. The guy insists on everybody calling him daddy, which is really, really weird. I mean, the actors absolutely make a meal of playing these like sleazy, really gross sort of implied inbred family in this small village.
Nice.
And it almost feels like I go through all that because this almost feels like this could be the entire movie, where you have something that's maybe feels a little bit like Straw Dogs, but then it takes this violent turn into Creature Feature, where those two sort of like things just smash into each other. And credit where it's due, I think it works for the most part. I think that I had a lot of fun. The creature effects were top notch, but it's just, once you get into like the third act, it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And then the finale is just so unhinged. You just let it wash all over you and just enjoy it because it's really amazing. It's like one of those films that like has no um pretenses. It's just is what it is. It's a fun creature feature that's just weird as fuck. I mean, it does have things to say about trauma and healing and processing things, but that's just kind of background noise to the fun mayhem. And yeah, I loved it. It has some nice featurettes. I really wish there would have been a commentary track, but I enjoyed what this disc does have. It being a newer film, it of course looks really nice. I I don't know if I was completely in love with how the color grading and how it was like shot, but that's not necessarily not enough to like detract me from the movie, and certainly not of the fault of the label. That's just kind of how it was filmed. But yeah, it looks nice. Again, minus kind of some of the choices and how it was shot, but yeah, overall, looks great, sounds great. It's a fun movie. It's a really fun discovery. Like, I implore you, if you want to have a fun time, check it out. Maybe like support it and rent it on VOD before you buy it. But yeah, I want to see more stuff like this. It's a good time.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that. I'm probably going to pop that in this weekend because I got it recently as well. I've been interested in watching this ever since our great producer Andre. They reviewed this for Geek Vibes Nation a couple months ago, whenever it was on like first theaters and VOD. So we can link that into the episode description. And I remember from reading their review and coupled with your description, I think I might have the movie you're talking about. Either that or it's like the movie that I came to think about whenever you're describing it. It's not a Shudder film. Are you possibly thinking of Brahms the Boy 2?
No, this was like a smaller. I track with that,
Okay.
but it's not what I was thinking of.
I like it because a woman is attacked in her house at the beginning and has to go off to like a
Yeah.
cabin and
Yeah,
stuff. So I wasn't sure.
it's not so much the attack part that felt like I was giving me deja vu. It was this like she's a new caretaker of this place, so she has to do something that's like a ritual, like daily, and if she doesn't do it, that there's consequences. And it just felt like there was something that had that similar plot thread, but yeah, it definitely completely goes off on its own. And yeah, it I just it's such a fun time. I love, like, we I mean, I'm sure I can speak for you too, where we love artsy stuff, deep things, but sometimes you just want to watch some creature bite someone's head off. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. So that was just a free plug for Brahms the Boy 2. So if you want to read my scathing review on that, you can see that at geekvibesnation.com. But yeah, moving on. I think this would be a movie that both you and Andre would find to be a lot of fun. It's the first of two releases from one of my favorite newest labels, Radiance Films. This is The Sunday Woman, which I will show off without this little card here in just a second. So Radiance just started releasing stuff back in January, but like they're already killing it. Every month they have something. So this one is their April release. So here, it has the Italian art title on the other side. And as always, these are limited editions for like the kind of all the bells and whistles, including this booklet here, which I'll show off a little bit here. Got some essay and images and all that kind of good stuff. So these are limited to 2000. I know some of the earlier films like Big Time Gambling Boss have already released like a standard version without the booklet, but there's a lot of great information in here if you are interested. But either way, you'll still get the same great disc. So this is basically an Italian whodunit. This is at the beginning of the film. This kind of loathsome man gets murdered, and it just like goes through the process of like all these individuals, like a police investigating it and having to kind of like explore each of their connections to the deceased victim and where the investigation leads to see like everyone has a little bit of something like skeletons in their closet, but whether or not they killed this man is what you have to find out. And it's a pretty intriguing whodunit. It's very kind of it's low key, but like very well done. It's not overly long or anything. I believe it's like just at like maybe 90 minutes long. Actually, it's an hour and 49 minutes long. It flew by, I guess, because like it didn't feel like a very long movie. But I think it has like a really tight plot. It has really good performances. I don't know. I was just really invested in this. It's not like as exploitative as like a giallo film. It's not like really super gory or anything, but it has just like kind of that investigative spirit that it drew me in. I really enjoyed it. And this Blu-ray release is pretty great. This comes from a new 2K restoration of the original camera negative. And the really cool thing about this is this release comes with 2 aspect ratios. It was originally made with a TV aspect ratio in mind, but the cinematographer, he framed the film where it could be exhibited theatrically. So you get both the theatrical and the television aspect ratio. I viewed my main viewing the theatrical aspect ratio, and everything looked perfectly framed and everything. It looked really nice. And that took I scanned throughout the television cut or the television aspect ratio as well. Also looked really good. So either way, I'm glad you have the option. Whenever the odd time where you do get a movie like this where it can go either way, it's really cool whenever you can get both aspect ratios. Also, this comes with a nice assortment of interviews. There's 3 main interviews that run from about 18 to 36 minutes long, depending on the interview. And then there's like another brief 4-minute interview with one of the actors, but mostly you have like some film historians, and I think the director gives one like an archival interview. And yeah, this is just a really solid release from Radiance. It has great packaging. I can't say enough nice things about this label. And this is a really fun movie if you like Italian cinema. It's like nothing too graphic, but it's just a really breezy, fun watch.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I mean, you detracted a little bit saying it's not super graphic, but that's fine.
I'm sorry.
No, it's that is a really interesting label. It's so awesome that you're covering these films because it's definitely like stuff that's putting it on my radar for sure. I'm pretty excited. This was a release that I was highly anticipating because I'm not a huge Star Trek fan. I'm more of a Star Wars person, but I did grow up with like Next Gen, the series, and had never seen the films, so it was fun to really dive into these. So take a look here. And nothing really to see in here. It just has the like this sort of like gate sign kind of thing. And then you also get the 4Ks and the Blu-ray. Yes, there's a digital copy in here. It's just not in there now. But if you order one, it will be there. So I boldly went through 4 of these films. And yeah, I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. So this kicks off with Generations, which did not realize this was a controversial opinion, but I kind of liked it. Um I know Andre's partner also shares his correct opinion that it's fun. Um we were talking about it a little bit earlier this week, but
illogical, yes, gratuitous. It was unnecessary. It didn't. There was nothing heroic about your death. If you're going to die, there should be for some wonderful, fantastic cause.
I absolutely agree.
Save somebody, with a ship, a friend, your wife, a girlfriend, somebody. But there was nothing. They gave you nothing heroic about it. They just now he dies. The bridge breaks and he dies. I think you wanted to kill the character off. If I had been there, it would not have happened to you. Where were you? I never tried to get
It's all right. It's all right. These things happen.
Yeah, it's definitely known for bringing the two captains together, you know, Captain Spock or
I don't like that.
Captain Kirk. Yeah, you can tell I'm a huge Trekkie. Yeah.
You're gonna get roasted.
Roasted. Sorry. Kirk and Picard together again, which was fun to have them together. Did it really stick the landing? Not really. That's one of the things I'll get into. But yeah, I thought it's a really fun film. Malcolm McDowell just makes a ham dinner out of his villain role, which I loved. I got to meet him. He's such a cool guy. And yeah, he's just so engaging to watch. Yeah, and there's some interesting, like there's some like weird things, some intrigue going on. The main thrust of it is this weird kind of like space cloud thing that's kind of gives you like it takes you into this like alternate dimension or timeline of like where you would be your most happiest, you know, and Picard goes into this weird almost like Victorian era household where he has tons of kids, but it's not like Victorian era, but everyone's dressed like it. It's kind of weird. But you know, the main thing is the villain's awesome. The two captains are engaging as hell together. Again, did they give them a lot to do? Not really, but I don't know. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite in the series, but I liked it. So First Contact was really interesting because when I was researching this film series, I gathered that Generations was given a laundry list of things that the filmmakers wanted to do, whereas First Contact didn't have those limitations. So the filmmakers were essentially free to kind of do whatever they wanted, and they wanted to do the Borg, the Return of the Borg, which was awesome. So I heard this described as Star Trek does sci-fi horror, and I really have to agree with that. It definitely was giving me like maybe Event Horizons ish kind of vibes. But yeah, this was definitely my favorite. There's great effects, amazing makeup. I think Patrick Stewart, out of all of these films, this is really where he gets to absolutely shine in this role. And Yeah, just everything clicks. Everything's on point. The action, the acting, the set pieces, sort of the dark, grim kind of tone. The Borg Queen, love her so much. um, I'm trying to think of that actor that plays it's Alice Krige,
Creed, yeah.
and I almost got to interview her, and I also love her from Sleepwalkers, which is this much maligned but really fun Stephen King adaptation. But that's for another time. But yeah, loved it. Unfortunately, the next two were kind of a hard ride for me. So I'm just gonna plow through these. Insurrection. It's definitely clear that the studio, I mean, despite the previous First Contact making a lot of money on a pretty hefty budget for the time, they wanted a more lighter tone. They wanted to be more family friendly, and you could definitely see that. And yeah, I think it's maybe one of my least favorite of the series. They try to inject a lot of humor in this, and I don't think it works. I believe this was the one that Jonathan Frakes directed. And I just didn't find the plot as engaging and interesting as the first two films. And again, it's kind of jarring when you go from like I did this back to back from First Contact to this, and it's very jarring because it's almost like they say, okay, everything that was kind of great and awesome about First Contact, do the opposite of that. It just doesn't look good. It's wild to me that this was a pretty hefty budget film, 70 millions, but it looks like a TV movie. The effects are really, really bad. Kind of like the next entry. But yeah, just didn't like it. It did still manage to turn a pretty big profit. But you can't say that about the next one. So Nemesis was the film in the series that like just absolutely shat the bed so hard. It's actually the first film in this series that really tanked at the box office. It only made maybe 67 million out of its 60 million budget, and it kind of killed the movie line for a little while. Fans didn't like it, critics also didn't like it. It's the second lowest rated Star Trek film, right behind Star Trek 5. So yeah, I don't think this was the worst. I think the previous entry was, but it's also not very good. I was pretty much just checked out of the story. The clone plot I thought was kind of meh. Again, I think the only thing that really holds this film together is Patrick Stewart, who absolutely just has a blast with his film. It's kind of wild because, again, I try to do a little research, and apparently the director was not a big Star Trek fan. He clashed pretty notoriously with a lot of the cast, and it's kind of like it can tell that his heart was just not in this project. There's a lot of plot conveniences, plot contrivances. It looks awful. It's wasn't fun. As a whole, the series is interesting. Again, I think my first two favorite, my favorite by far, are the first two, and then it's just kind of a decline into like really bad. But these look really nice. I haven't seen these previously, so I can't compare to the Blu-ray, but doing a little research, these are major upgrades from the previous Blu-ray releases. I thought they looked great. Again, it's hard to tell because some of them are just shot badly. So, but yeah, overall, this is a nice set. I think like it's kind of coming down in price. So, I think like for your money's worth, they do kind of give you a lot. And yeah, it definitely makes me want to go back and watch next gen series, but yeah, I it's definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah, I need to catch up with the next gen films. I've actually never seen them. I'm pretty sure I reviewed the Picard show and I've watched that, so it's interesting not having some of that extra context like from the movies. But I've enjoyed what I've seen of like the series and some like the like Picard and next gen. So I need to catch up with these movies, and in 4K sounds like the way to do it. Um, Moving on to my second Radiance film release. This is their May release. This is Yakuza Graveyard, which I think you can probably glean what this is about a little bit just from the title, but well, I'll dig into it. But first, as always, I'll show off the packaging, take out the little card so you can see the full artwork here and on the back here, and the reversible art here, the classic artwork here, and as I said, the limited edition comes with a booklet, which I will show off in just one moment before I rip this artwork. As I've said before, I love this show, but it is not important enough to me to destroy my releases. So here is the booklet here. So get some essays as with the other one. So you got some restoration notes and all that kind of good stuff. And I can't remember if I showed off the interior, but here's the disc artwork here. So yeah, this is a pretty solid one. It's your classic like cop who doesn't play by the rules kind of narrative. There's like a new cop that is transferred into this police precinct who just wants to basically do whatever, like by whatever means necessary, get justice and like get like take down like all the crime in the area. But what he finds in the midst of like cracking skulls and being like reprimanded by his superiors that he cannot inflict violence upon people is that the Yakuza are not necessarily the only bad people around there. He starts like kind of like seeing some of like how his fellow cops are operating, and I almost kind of got like a Serpico vibe where like he would not like partake in some of like the indulgences that the officers like are like, hey, this everyone does it, like you take this, and he's like, nope, like he's just not having it. He's also kind of he's having a relationship / affair with the wife of a Yakuza like member who he put behind bars. So there's kind of like some questioning of like his loyalty and stuff, and then he kind of gets kind of into like a friendly relationship with one gang, like one of like the not so intense gangs who are the other gang is kind of more mixed up with the police, and they're kind of like they have an uneasy relationship that doesn't put the new officer like in a good headspace. So it's kind of like the conflict of like this man having his own personal code, and then everyone else is kind of like doing their own shit that's like make like just like corrupt, but like there's no really like 100% good people that are like doing the right thing consistently. Everyone's living in like a shade of gray, I guess. And it's a really solid movie because of that. The narrative itself, I would say, is not like the selling point, because if you've seen a lot of these like Yakuza films or gangster films or anything like that, it's not completely unfamiliar territory. Where I did really appreciate this movie is in the filmmaking. There's some really interesting like camera work in here, like especially for this time, which this was I believe the 1976, to see like some really great like handheld camera work and some of like the chases that they were doing. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. Like just like you can just kind of see like a cameraman kind of like not in a bad way, but just see like the camera like following this chase scene and something like that. It really makes you feel like you're in it. It's not like in like a Jason Bourne way where it's like shaking, so but it's just kind of like more interactive kind of, which I found really fascinating. And then there are just certain shots that are kind of like throughout this movie that I'm like, oh, that's like an interesting way to approach this shot. That's not just kind of like point and shoot, which like some of like the lesser films just kind of like just want to like plow through stuff without having any like visual artistry, which really kind of enhances this movie, which I really appreciate. So I really liked how this was shot. The narrative is pretty interesting, and but not, like I said, not reinventing the wheel, but it's good. And this release is really great. It looks really nice. It comes from a new HD transfer. There's still a few like specs and stuff here and there, but it's been cleaned up quite a bit. It sounds really, really good. There's not much in the way of like age-related wear and tear. There's like a few little like hisses or maybe like little distortion here and there, but even that, like, it's not really a major issue. This has a few like featurettes, like a featurette and a like a visual essay from like a film historian. I wish there was a few more special features, but overall it's a really solid release. And yeah, so if you're a fan of like Yakuza films, this is like, I think it's one of the better ones, and I've seen like a few lists where people rank it among like the better Yakuza films. So Yakuza Graveyard is a really solid, entertaining watch.
Nice. Once again, you definitely have sold me. That sounds really interesting. I especially liked when you were saying how it was interestingly shot, and I definitely appreciate when they can kind of give it a little more flair. So this was another release that I was really excited for because I'm a big fan of this show, and that is Primal Season 2. And we got some really nice packaging here. Yeah, so here's another shot of the back, featurette, and the inside. It's not really reversible art, but this does have like when you pop the disc out, it has the episode list and like there you go. So yeah, have you seen this season yet? You
Not
did,
yet.
right? Yeah,
No,
I think
just the
I remember
first
you.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is really interesting. It's definitely a departure from the first season. Some people like that, some people don't. We'll get into it, but yeah, so season 1 kept things pretty self-contained. This season we definitely are introduced to a lot of new characters. I think some really great world building. There's a really interesting splintered off timeline set in Victorian England, which some people like, some people don't. There definitely is a lot of brutal carnage. I'm trying to be careful. I won't spoil who, but we do lose a beloved character this season. But this also has the infamous Red Mist storyline, which again is very divisive, but I think it makes for some interesting discourse. So I don't mind that, and I think it's an interesting sort of layer to this season. Yeah, certainly overall the stakes are much bigger versus season 1. And yeah, I don't think that it's something that's going to please all the fans, but I think that overall it's really good, and I think it's been well received. So it's definitely left me wanting more. It's so engaging that this season just flew by. I think I binged it in a day. Yeah, it's just the animation's gorgeous. Again, there's some really compelling stuff going on. There's a lot of gut punches, so you need to be like prepared because season 1 certainly had those. I know with season 1, like the first couple episodes really just pull zero punches with like how brutal and even just uncaring seemingly that it can be, but that's kind of how this show rides, and this kind of gives you that maybe even amped up a little more this season. So Yeah, when you do see it, I will be interested to hear what you think. But yeah, overall, it's really good. The animation really pops on Blu-ray. Again, if you've only seen the streaming, I think you will be doing yourself a favor if you actually get the like 1080p Blu-ray. Because it's gorgeous. We get a really nice featurette. I kind of wish there would have been more on this disc, but it's fine. It's not, it's just, you know, there at least is a little something extra for fans, but yeah, it's great. This this remains one of my favorite current animated series.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like, I do really appreciate that series. It's one of the more like strikingly animated series. So I'm glad they're continuing to release it on Blu-ray, where you can like really get the complexities of the artwork and everything in like the best like clarity. So I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to watching that season. Moving on to my next title. This is from Raro Video and Kino Lorber. I am just sticking in the crime kind of saga that I've been going on. This is the new Godfathers. So this is an Italian film, and I'll just show. There's no interior artwork, just the disc art, which reflects the cover art. So this is from 1979. Like I said, it's an Italian film, and it's also a very simple one where this just involves the like a investigation in Italy of like some like I think it's heroin that is being like distributed and exported, and there's like going to be like a big shipment that is shipped to America for like this huge wedding, like of one of like a mobster's daughter's wedding that's happening. And the way that they are getting this into the country, I will not spoil, but it's like a interesting way that they are disguising their drugs. But basically, it's like in a police investigation trying to take down a drug lord, and it hits pretty much the familiar beats you expect from kind of like this poliziati kind of genre, but it's entertaining. I had a good time with it. There's some good set pieces. It's not overly long. It's only 96 minutes, so just a little over an hour and a half. Keeps a good pace. Has some interesting, unique characters that really keep you from just like kind of glazing over like these stock characters that are sometimes in here. There's like some colorful personalities that kind of add a little bit of flavor to things. So overall, not incredible, not the best film you've ever seen, but if you're like kind of that genre of Italian crime, like police thrillers, the new Godfathers is a really like pretty solid one. I had a good time with it, and the release is good. It comes from a new restoration. I'm not sure of the I think it's a 4K restoration, but I'm not exactly sure. But it looks really nice. There's still a few nicks here and there, but overall pretty solid. This also comes with a US cut of the film with English audio if you want to experience that way. And it comes with like a brief like appreciation featurette, like from like a film historian, kind of giving a little bit of context as well. So a little bit in the way of special features, not too much, but enough to give a little bit of context. So new Godfathers from Raro Video and Kino Lorber. Like I said, if you like the genre, check it out.
Nice. Yeah, that's another one that was not on my radar, but it sounds really interesting. So we are going from some fossils to some fossils.
No.
Sorry.
Cut.
I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. No, listen.
Do this, man.
All right, so 80 for Brady. Okay, so first of all, I have to say I really appreciate Paramount putting some nice features on this. And you know, like the blooper reels and stuff, that's like my favorite kind of feature. So so this is the interior, nothing special. There is a digital copy that's not in there. But yeah, so I I think, I mean, of course, like this cast is the huge selling point for me. This is why I wanted to see it. My husband thought I was crazy. I still might be. But yeah, I love Jane Fonda. I love Lily Tomlin, Sally Field.
I get to shoot a scene with Sally Fields, who I have been a fan of forever in so many movies for so many reasons. And it's great to meet her and great to hang out with her, and a little nerve-wracking. I'm not, you know, she's an amazing actress and has done this forever, and I'm a cook.
Just everybody in this is great. And it's a very by the numbers, I would say comfort watch. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I watched it last night. It didn't quite live up to what I wanted it to be, but it was pleasant. It was pleasant.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it. It's very, you know where it's going, but it does give you those kind of feels. And I think it is pretty engaging overall. And there's just some weird, fun little moments, like the bobblehead talking to Lily Tomlin's character at the beginning. Like, I have to say, like cancer plot lines make me super uncomfortable, but that's just like a personal thing. But like, it does give you, it certainly is a writer's shortcut for like emotional beats. Whether or not that's a little lazy is up to you. I think that's, your mileage may vary, but anyways, yeah, I'm a sucker for this duo. They were my main draw. I had fun. This is certainly like, you know what you're getting into. It's no more, no less. I don't know if I would watch it over and over again, but if I just kind of wanted something that was just cheesy and schmaltzy, you could do worse. So yeah, I thought it's fun. I like that, you know, we do have some nice featurettes, some deleted scenes. And yeah, there's some really fun stuff going on here. And yeah, it's not bad. I definitely feel like there are pacing issues. I think that there's scenes that kind of go on a little too long. There's stuff that you could probably cut and it would be fine. So, but yeah, it's good. You get, you get what you expect. And it's a nice release. It's a newer film, so it looks really good. Sounds good. Yeah, it was all right.
It was all right. I do want to say it had some pretty fun cameos throughout, which I really appreciated. And at the very least, this movie just reminded me that like my crush on Sally Field will just never end. I don't care how old she gets. She's the cutest, and I love her so much.
I'm just trying to keep it together in front of Sally. That's all I'm trying to do.
What's your favorite Sally Field character or movie?
I would have to think about it. There's a recent one I really like called "Hello, My Name Is Doris," where it's just so heartwarming, and it's not like a sprawling ensemble, but I think it's like a better version of this movie, of just like never too late to kind of live your life type of thing, and just it's really just heartwarming. I love it so much.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's interesting that you brought that up, because yeah, I see that. I see what you mean about the sort of parallels between that. Yeah, My Name Is Doris, that's a sweet movie. That's one that I
right. What about you? What's your favorite?
I mean, Fly Nun.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, but that's I think that's great. And I mean, Gidget's fun too. I think that is very prime Sally Field. But yeah, gosh, I mean, as far as her dramatic stuff, was it Norma Ray, where she was like yeah, it's pretty classic. So
Union.
yeah.
Love her. So Sally, if you're out there,
I'm
my
sure
wife
she's
and I would
a
love to
regular.
have you for dinner. It'll be Chase. It's all good. My next title. Moving on to a Cohen Media release. This is Up Down Fragile. From Jacques Rivette, who viewers might remember I spoke about his movies a few months ago, and I know you're going to be speaking about one in sometime in the next few weeks. People may remember I talked about how his movies are freaking long, and this one is no exception. This is 2 hours and 50 minutes, just like a prime connective drama that's 2 hours and 50 minutes long. But as much as I like jokingly complain about it, I do enjoy his movies, and this one is no exception. This one is kind of like a scenario where it's like kind of following three parallel storylines about women. There's one woman who is just like woken up out of a coma, and she's kind of trying to like put her life back together, and she just came into like an inheritance that she's like figuring out like if she wants to like keep this house that her aunt left her, and just kind of figuring out her life. There's a woman, I believe she is just like, she used to be a sex worker, and now she is like transitioned into being a like a delivery person, like a bike messenger type delivery type person. And then there is another woman who was in the film, the other Rivette film that I talked about, The Gang of Four. She is playing a character who she has just started a job as a librarian, but she kind of has like this kind of trauma from the past where she is adopted, but she kind of like is always wondering about like the mother who gave her up and stuff. So you kind of explore a little bit of that throughout. So it's not like a strict situation where every single scene they're like crossing paths or anything, but there are times where they'll like these characters will be like in the same room or something, or like cross paths more directly. But it's really just kind of like these three parallel storylines. You get a little bit of person here and there that kind of develops really nicely. And I think it's really just a really solid, engaging drama that is given the time to develop and just kind of like flourish into something really nice. I don't think it's my absolute favorite Rivette film, but everything I've watched from him so far has been really solid or great. So this is no exception. It's a really solid watch. I enjoyed the performances. Despite the length, the pacing was pretty solid. And the one thing I didn't even mention about this film, it's a pseudo musical as well, because they're all just, it's not like throughout, but there's like 3 or 4 like kind of musical sequences that are very low key, like purposefully low key, not like grand razzle dazzle, but just kind of like something you could maybe expect to happen in real life, of just like maybe like one of the characters just starts singing in the park and like jumping up on like the cobblestones, and like just kind of like just a little fun airy dance number and like singing and stuff. So I really like that too, because it had like an artistic flourish that I was not expecting from him, because I had never seen that in any of his films before. So I'm just like, oh, it's a musical too, so that's pretty cool. But overall, it's a really interesting movie. This release is good. It comes from a new 4K restoration. Looks really nice. Not much in the way of the nicks or scratches at all. Maybe a few here and there, but really very cleaned up, and but while retaining the natural grain and stuff, which is great. This comes with a commentary track. I believe this is the same gentleman who did all the other commentary tracks on the other Rivette releases, and you will probably be hearing the same whenever you review one in a few weeks. I think that's Secret Identity or Secret Defense, one of those. Secret something. And
The secret, I can't tell you.
Yeah, and that's pretty much, it's just a commentary track, but overall, solid release. This does have the issue that I do not quite jive with Cohen, where their subtitles are forced. You cannot turn them off. If you're a native speaker of French, you have to deal with the English subtitles. I like the option to turn them off if you want, in case you just like want to like explore the screen without the words on. But it's a persistent thing with this label, but overall, other than that, good release. So Up, Down, Fragile is pretty good.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's kind of cool that we're exploring this director, and you know, not not brisk or short, but you know, gets the
Yeah.
job done.
Yeah.
So my next title is another from the DC animated universe, which keep pumping them out because I'm really loving these. But this is Justice League versus RW by BY, and this is the first part, and I assume that we're going to be getting some more. So here's the back, and so nothing crazy spectacular on the inside. There is a digital copy that is not here now, but if you order it, that will be there. And yeah, usually if you're a fan of these slipcovers, like you want to order like sooner rather than later. But yeah, so I have been really, like I said, we've been getting into these really great DC animated stuff. Like last time I talked about All-Star Superman, which I thought was fantastic. So I was really curious because this crossover is with a animated series that was like a web series that I'm still fairly new to. So I was kind of curious like how well they would blend the fantasy world with the sort of, I was going to say grounded world of the DC animated universe, but it's not really that grounded. But yeah, overall though, really well done. I think the writing is smart and snappy enough that it feels very organic and not forced. Like there's some crossovers that just feel very overworked to get the characters together. And I'm sure you probably have some examples of some really like clunky crossover stuff, but yeah, this is handled really nicely. The story overall is fine. I think that there's, you know, unfortunately some plot conveniences, some plot holes, but I had to say I was impressed because there's some and I want to be kind of careful because I don't know what's spoilery, but there's some really good character moments that I thought was a little bit deeper than I kind of I wasn't expecting. So I was really happy about that. And yeah, I think the big headline though is the action scenes and animation are fantastic. Like I have to say I was very riveted. I love the animation style. I like how they kind of blend the anime style into the house style of DC, and it works really well. This is something that I really like about the DC animated universe is, you know, if they're like adapting something like All-Star Superman, they'll try to, you know, stay faithful to the visual tone of the book, and but also kind of stay consistent with their house style. And you know, this is no exception. I think they do a really great job. We do get some nice featurettes, and the 4K just looks spectacular. Again, this is a very wonderfully animated, bright, really great looking film. So having it in 4K, I'm happy about that. Thank you, Warner Brothers. I'm excited that this can go on my shelf with my other really great DC animated stuff. It's very much worth checking out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that one out. I haven't been able to watch it yet. I've been reviewing the past couple seasons of RWBY. I jumped in at like season 7 just out of nowhere, and I was like, I'll catch up. And like I plan on going back from the beginning, but I'm interested to see how this story blends with the series and like who needs to know what. But it sounds like you kind of like can kind of jump in without like deep knowledge of either like thing. So that's pretty good for just like the average fan. So yeah, very much looking forward to that one. And like I like to know that the action sequences are prime. So that's always good to know. Okay. My final title. I know you've been looking forward to this because I messaged you about this. So just every now and then we have to talk about a title that kind of lets everyone know that we are telling the truth. There are things, we're not just yes men all the time. There are things we don't like. And this for me, I'm going to try to be nice, but the new film from Artsploitation and Kino Lorber, Virtual Reality, I did not like this movie. This was not good to me. It is an Argentinian movie, and it's a horror movie, and this movie. So what this movie is about is it starts out, it's that there's a horror film being filmed on a film set, and like it is like right at the end of production. People are kind of tired. The director seems kind of inept. The actors are kind of irritated about different things, but they are reaching the end of the shoot, and then like the director invites the cast over for a rough screening of the movie. And whenever they go over to the house, they start to experience, or they start viewing the film, and they start seeing scenes that they didn't shoot within this movie. And certain things that are happening in the movie starts happening to them in real life. And it's kind of like it's a weird artificial intelligence, virtual reality kind of simulation, horror-based film where the people in the room, they're having to like trying to figure out what is going on, who is behind this, and what price will people pay for great art type of dumbness. But so this movie, it just doesn't really make sense, / it's not good at what it's trying to do. Like a lot of the like people who are just like killed on screen and then dust in real life, like and I don't understand the logic of this movie, and I don't understand, like they don't do a good job of like creating like visceral moments. Everything is just kind of like tame and just clumsily handled. There's not really even like really great gore. There's confusion about like where the logic like I don't know, the logic is all over the place for me. I can't really completely articulate why this movie isn't the best. It's just like plot is just all over the place, and it's not scary. The performances are not very good. It's a real, I hate to say it, it's a mess of a movie. And then like it feels like it thinks it's more clever than it actually is. There's some like, what is real, what is not, like is any of this even real type of thing. And then like this isn't really a spoiler, but there's a either a pre-credits or post-credits scene where it's like there's an audience watching like the movie, and I'm just like, what? Don't try to get away with that shit. No, I'm not gonna have like it's just like it's like you were the audience to this the whole time. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm the audience. I'm the viewer. I know this. Like it's just it grated on me. I did not like this. This movie bothered me. I did not like it. It wasn't even very long, so it didn't waste my time that long. But even at 84 minutes long, way too long for me. I did not like this movie. Yeah.
So where would you put it though? Like, not to interrupt, but where would you in the sliding scale of Candyman 3 being like the worst?
Just a notch above, just barely a notch above. Like there's some like aesthetic things that I think are pulled off better than Candyman 3. I think the movie isn't incompetently made. It is just all the other elements, like it's just, I don't know, the plot especially, but like I said, the performances seem to be inconsistent, and I don't know, but it's not like a shoddily shot movie, but not good. I would be interested for you to see this just to know your reaction. Just know if I'm insane, but
Okay.
I hate to say that this harsh of stuff about people. I'm a very easy grader sometimes. There are movies that I probably give a pass to that people are like, what are you doing? But just I could not stand for this. So virtual reality, proceed at your own risk.
Yeah, I was definitely excited when you sent me a message and was like, I saw the worst movie. So yeah, I
Yeah.
will try to check it out. I mean, especially I know it's you can probably get it on like VOD or streaming somewhere like a try before you buy. So yeah, I'll have to see for myself, see if we're both on the same page. But
Yeah.
um I'm gonna end mine on a stronger note. So um I really had such a fun time with this box set. Like this really is a really nice curated collection. I know I showed this off and I had an unboxing video. Um, but we are going to do the final two and culminating in my favorite from the set, I think. And the amount of features, I think it's the favorite of Severin as well. But we're going to get into my not my least favorite, but out of the pair, there's no really comparison. But Scream of the Demon Lover is first up, and I dare say that the title and the provocative cover doesn't quite live up to that, but we'll get into it. Yeah, I have to say this is kind of really dull. Like the first act or two really just lumbers along. It's characters, trying to convey the plot to you. It's a lot of exposition. It's about this sort of barren type who needs a scientist, a lady scientist. Oh my goodness, so weird. It's a little cringe, but um yeah, it's just um it just very is slow. I will say the ending definitely like picks up a lot, and it does have one of these endings that I really don't want to spoil it, but the ending almost makes it worth the glacier pace, if that makes sense. And this does have a really nice commentary track, and watching it a second time with the track actually kind of made me appreciate just some of the aspects of the film that I maybe didn't really gel with the first time. But it's fun, it's sleazy. I just wish the first and second act could have used a much tighter, like more interesting pace. It really is just very meandering for the first I would say good 45 minutes or more. But we are at the main event, Lady Frankenstein. And I'm excited to get into this because this is fun. It's fun. And as you can see, there is a ton of features. Kat Ellinger does a commentary track, and we are huge fans of her. She does amazing work. She does a lot of commentary tracks, video essays. Wow, she is so knowledgeable and interesting. And I think that alone makes this whole entire set worth the price. But we get a lot of other really great features. So yeah, jumping right in, I really like how we get this trashy, sleazy Euro horror, but it kind of has this interesting sort of hammer horror flavor, and you can see this in the really nice set designs, like the visual flair, like the garish looking blood, that, you know, like the heaps of sex and just everything going on. It really marries those two things, you know, like the sleazy Euro horror and the Hammer, which was a little bit more like aiming for being a little more sophisticated while also just being like delightfully trashy. That sums up this movie, I think, quite well. The plot is definitely engaging enough, but it's just this weirdness that I think carries it to over to the finish line. Joseph Cotton is in this. He's maybe not as important as I thought he was going to be in this, but he does like it's interesting because he had later in life he sort of made a career of doing horror films. Like he did some stuff with Vincent Price, and you know that was kind of how he sort of made his living in the twilight years. So having said that, he really gives it his all here. He is playing this like he is back on, you know, the Hitchcock set, and he is just giving it his all. I love it. And Isabella Nori, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, plays the titular Lady Frankenstein. She's great. She's mesmerizing. This is just a really fun heaping helping of sleaze, sex, bodies, you know, the Frankenstein mythos. Again, it has this very beautiful looking set design, but you still have that sort of grindhousey sleaze. And again, the two worlds meet rather nicely. This looks phenomenal. Like I was really impressed. This says it comes from a new 2K scan, but if you would have told me this was a 4K scan, I would have believed you. Like it just looks nearly flawless. And again, I talked about how, you know, that it has really nice set designs. I believe this is also extremely well shot. And you know, this restoration really does justice to like how I think this is a gorgeous looking movie for, especially for what it is. And yeah, I just think Severin did an amazing job. I mean, the wealth of features on this took me an entire day to just pour through all this stuff with the commentary track. And it was worth it. This whole set's great, but I feel like this is the crown jewel. And yeah, I'm excited that this is volume 1. I want volume 1 through 50. Bring it on, because so far so good. I like how we get some obscure stuff. Lady Frankenstein's not very obscure. I've heard of that before, but they really do like just fantastic job. So, you know, ending on a great note, this is a must buy in my opinion. Severin really knocked it out of the park. I'm very excited for more of these. And yeah, I guess that's I guess that does it. Yeah, shake it off. But yeah, so this is the time where I say please give this a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We do this weekly, and it's been really cool to see more viewers watching and engaging with these videos. We very much appreciate it, and as always, thank you for hanging out with us.